I'll go ahead and start the intro. And we are live. All right, welcome everybody. Today I have a special guest with me, Bjorn Ekeberg. And with over 4,000 published studies, we're going to be talking about the near infrared light therapy. We know just from clinical studies that it relieves pain, repairs cells, boosts energy, can reduce inflammation, and it makes it an ideal treatment for muscular or ligament damage. It can also manage pain, such as arthritis, but we're going to hear more about that from author, pioneer, and co-founder of FlexBeam, which is the world's first targeted near-infrared light therapy device designed to accelerate your body's recovery and optimize your health. So welcome, Bjorn Ekeberg. Thanks for taking the time. I know it was hard with our time schedules. I think I'm 10 a.m. here and you're 6 p.m. where you are. So just happy that we got to sit down and I get to pick your brain a little bit more.
No, it's great. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. So I want to just hop right in. I think it's such a new area, and it's so in tune with kind of our nature and the birth of our universe. The sun. So let's just hop right into photobiomodulation. How does it work? Where did it begin, and how can it affect someone's health today?
Yeah, it was one of those baffling things when I first got involved via two of my co-founders are guys I knew from before that have developed, advanced hardware, electronic stuff based in Asia. And they had stumbled on this new technology they'd never heard of. And they showed me this and was just talking about all these different things that could come from it. And I was as baffled as they were that I hadn't heard about any of this before. Because
Right.
either it's like a too good to be true infomercial type thing of like, you won't believe the amazing benefits, or it's something that we missed out on completely. And as I got to try it myself and then speak a lot to people who were trying it in an early prototype and so on, it became clear that this kind of technology is a game changer, but it hasn't really been made very easily available to people or accessible to people. Like if you're gung-ho and you read about this somewhere, you can, set up panels in your basement and you can create your own do it at home sort of routine. But what we wanted to create and what we saw was needed in the market was actually a more effective solution that was portable, something that you could just take with you and wear on wherever you need it, when you needed it.
Right.
So we were, blown away, all three of us, and our fourth co-founder is a medical doctor who's been working with these kinds of technologies for 20 years. So she knew about this from before, and her vision was to get this out to more people.
Yeah.
Those of us who had not heard about it before were like, photobio, what exactly? What is this? And then as you start thinking about it properly, start realizing how much we are impacted by light and the sunlight. And if you think about it in an even bigger context, and I have a bit of a philosophy of science background before this, so I was very much inclined toward this cosmic perspective.
Right.
Is that the sun is the natural source of energy for everything in our world. Is our whole, like everything we do beats to the drum of the sun, so to speak, and our whole earth is
All life.
we get all our energy from sunshine. We think of energy as coming from food, but the food gets its energy from the sun.
Right.
And the sun is this complete spectrum that we're shielded from most of the time, and we can see these visible colors from red to blue, but there's this huge spectrum of like we call radiation, but it's like electromagnetic frequencies from ultraviolet to infrared, which is fully present in the sun when we are exposed to it. But then it turns out that there are some wavelengths that have specific effects on the body, and there are many different things that are proven effective within this umbrella term photobiomodulation. But specifically, in the most sort of potent one is near infrared light. It's a very small bandwidth of light right off the visible spectrum. It's between 800 and 850 nanometers for those who follow that scale. And what seems to happen, and that's been demonstrated in a lot of studies and a lot of people, up to this point is that it stimulates response at the cellular level, that it basically seems to kickstart your body's natural healing or recovery process. And so we learned from this, what the studies that we uncovered were in part made by NASA, that started developing this in the 2000s for astronauts. And, you know, a lot of this is sort of it's now it's known, but it's not yet established. I think within established medicine and so on, there still is a slow uptake on realizing the potential benefit and importance of this.
Yeah. And I think it's going to always kind of be met with that barrier, because there's always going to be kind of that you know, pharmaceutical incentivized side of things to keep people, you know, even Forbes came out with an article stating that healing a disease through medicine is not a sustainable business model. So they don't really try to do that. They just try to subside and treat the symptoms of an issue with modern medicine. And I think this near infrared therapy is more to try to get to the root cause and help your body literally on a, like you were saying, on a cellular level, improve its function, whether that's, you know, getting rid of unhealthy cells or unhealthy patterns in the cell or in the body, in the system itself, or it's just promoting its you know, vigorousness, its strength, its ability to improve. I think it's always going to be met with that competitor head on. You know, it's just it's incentivized through money and big pharma, you know, and that's why I think I love something like this, because it's really giving the biggest power back into the hands of the public. You know, I mean, we, like you said, light and sunlight is our source of life. I mean, if we didn't, and plants are kind of the middleman to that, right? I mean, they convert sunlight to sugar, and then we get to process that sugar. But I think it's just astounding to see all the benefits in the clinical study side of things. And I agree with you. It's something that it's known, especially amongst professionals who work in this space, but it's not so publicly accepted. And I think a portion of that, something that we were talking about earlier, is, okay, there's near infrared light, but then there's also that umbrella term of red light therapy. And some people are trying to pull the wool over people's eyes and just sell them like a red light, like a light bulb with a red filament over it, and say, oh, this is going to be the fix for it, because it's still not the most regulated area. But neither are supplements, right? Supplements are one of the biggest billion-dollar industries, and yet it's not regulated. So it can be the wild, wild west out there a little bit, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like any emerging new industry or sector, it emerges because there's a clear need for something, right, and that there is a potential solution to a kind of a problem. But of course, it suffers from you know, lots of purveyors of strange kinds of solutions are all converging on the same space. And it can be hard to separate what are like genuinely good products from very poor ones. And that can also give the whole red light therapy or photobiomodulation or infrared therapy, whichever your term around this, can also give it a bad name, because there are many strange suppliers. Yeah, I think it's important to just note this is something we take for granted, a couple of very basic things when we run through our busy modern lives. And one of them is the sun. Talked about that we just sort of take it for granted that all the energy comes from there. And we also take it for granted that we have actually an incredible healing capacity in our own bodies. Like when you recover from like pulling really hard at the gym or pushing something really, really hard and you're sore, and we just make this into a kind of routine and we're used to this, but it's really astounding how quickly we recover, and that whole recovery process is the source of our whole strength. So when you add to this that all the energy you get from sunshine or from specific wavelengths that you do actually get every day to some degree, but a more concentrated version of that can actually kickstart a natural process. This is something that then becomes almost mysterious and strange when you hear about the first time, but when you really start using it and thinking about it, it makes a lot more sense than than taking pills or something for
Yeah.
problem if it actually can help you in a better way and get to the root rather than to suppress the symptom.
Well, and it can also, there can be a lot of negative side effects from being out in the sun too long, especially with someone of my complexion. I burn after 5-10 minutes. So I think it's great to have, alternatives that still deliver all the benefits, but at lower risks. And yeah, for someone who's weight training or doing a lot of heavy activity, it is absolutely going to aid in your recovery. But even for those who are just aging, and just trying to promote their longevity and not necessarily trying to excel their performance, but they're trying to prevent like the natural degradation as we age. There's a lot of benefits with the light technology there. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I mean, the core mechanism, and there are many mechanisms for how near-infrared light works, but the most central one is the effect it has on the mitochondria, which are the organelles in your cells that are responsible for energy production at the cellular level.
And
so
real quick,
the term ATP, yeah.
I just want to state for our listeners, there are 30 to 40 trillion cells in our body, and each cell has anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 mitochondria. So, helping on like the smallest level in our body, and to be able to kind of cover our bases on that level is just astounding. It's like, we're little universes in our own way.
It's absolutely mind-boggling when you see, like, there have been these attempts at measuring how many mitochondria you have, and you have them at the cellular level, and you add it up, and it's like billions and billions. But then even your body weight, there's been estimated that 10% of your body weight is mitochondria. I don't know how they calculated that, but it's like, because it's basically it's the core of your whole cellular self, so to speak.
Right.
And that's where the energy production happens. That's where your body takes its energy from, like that it used to, heal and recover and do all its basic functions. So specifically near infrared light energizes the mitochondria to basically produce more than ATP cellular energy, and it has a whole range of cascading benefits that follow from this. So, I mean, we sometimes say it's like turbocharging your recovery, and it sounds like a metaphor, just like saying like your body's battery, like you're charging your body's battery.
Right, but it really is.
Yeah.
Because like you said, the mitochondria is the powerhouse. So if we're stimulating that to double its production, you are turbo boosting on a cellular level.
And so we used to think that when we first talked about the body as a battery, it's like, oh yeah, that's a good metaphor. And then as we learned more about this, we realized that it's not a metaphor. It's like your body literally is a battery. Like it's how it functions. And in a way, your health can be determined by your capacity to receive and maintain a charge, whether it's from sunlight or from food or anything.
Yeah.
And it's a way of understanding health in a way that it sounds technical, but literally when you lose your capacity to receive and maintain a charge is when you lose your health, right?
Yeah.
It's like your capacity to take in like the beneficial, whether it's sunlight or good nutrition, and to use that effectively in your body to, like, you could, not move mountains perhaps, but you can do almost anything if you have that capacity. That's a feeling of really good health and to strengthen your health. And this is where it's such a game changer with this kind of light, to incorporate this into your everyday. You will, wherever you place it, you will get this sort of systemic effect, this uptake of that energy to just start a process, which may not yield immediate results, but it's like the next day a little bit better, and the next day, and you sort of
compound effects.
Compound effects,
Yeah, there's also a lot of literature out there to show that disease all starts with the breakdown of mitochondria. So to think that, up until now, we talk a lot about things that promote preservation of our mitochondria, versus now this is something that's literally like growing and improving your mitochondria. I mean, it's astounding. It's absolutely incredible. And just to give people a little perspective as well, I mean, you know, your background, you have a PhD in cosmology, correct? Right?
Well, philosophy of science.
Or
So the
philosophy of science.
cosmologist would be appalled at that. But I
Okay,
study it a lot. Yes.
gotcha.
Yeah.
You know, we were single-celled organisms before we hopped into multi-cell. And you know, you're talking about 10% of our mitochondria, or 10% of our body is mitochondria, and I believe most of that is localized to our gut because we started as mitochondria. We were literally mitochondria. We are now this walking, moving vessel that houses mitochondria in our gut, and it was the mitochondria that really created everything around it so it could survive.
Yeah, indeed. And the stomach, the whole gut, has the most light receptors in the mitochondria as well. And this is one reason why one of the favorite applications of FlexBeam among our users,
Holding
unless
on
they
your
use it
stomach.
for it, it's actually you know, you can place it vertically along your stomach. You get you light up your entire gut for 10 minutes. This is one of the easiest ways to really ascertain for yourself that it does have an impact on your system, right? And to get a systemic effect.
That's mind blowing because I myself have ulcerative colitis, which is like a digestive disease. So I'm gonna have to try something like that. So talk to me a little bit more about the best modes of practice for using the FlexBeam or using infrared light therapy, near infrared light therapy in general.
Yeah, I mean, one of the first things is that you have something that's really effective and that's powerful enough. All right. So this is one of the reasons we designed our device, because we found that there's one thing is that there's a lot of low quality products out there that have variable output, these kinds of things. But it's also, if you are considering, say, a light bulb or a panel to hang on the wall, there's something like our engineer, who's an electronics engineer and a very rational mind. He was analyzing these other ways you could do it. And he was pointing out that basically, if you are more than 10 centimeters away from a light panel, you have lost 90% of the power from the light. It's not like the light travels very wide. You need it to be close, right? But at the time when we got started, like any solution on the market were built for, they were manufacturing friendly. Like you could order it for, it's basically the same lights you use for grow ups. You just change the frequency in it and you just can ship panels. So we wanted to design something that you can wear straight on your body, that you don't lose any effectiveness, right? So that's how we designed FlexBeam, which is a belt. For those of you who see it on camera, I'm just showing it right here. Some people call it like an ammo belt. It's you know, it will cover the lower of your back or wherever you want to put it, or vertically on your stomach, with 3 light pods. And the reason we designed it this way is that, like, with this kind of design, you can wrap around, for example, an elbow. You get light from penetrating from 3 different angles. And because infrared light, it is an important feature of infrared light, is that it penetrates the skin. That's how it can be stimulating at the level of tissue, or like at the cellular level. If there's no bones in the way, for example, you can get up to 8 or 10 centimeters in with infrared light of a certain power. So therefore, it's crucial to design something that literally you don't lose all the power by being away from it, but it's like enwraps exactly where you need it, and you have no power is lost. So that would be the first thing to look out for when, like, if you're wanting to try something like a photobiomodulation device, is it really going to be effective where you need it? Because very low power is not going to produce much results, other than for like very specific things, generally speaking. Like, we know that low power, but if you know, it's also too much power, like crazy amounts of power, like turning on the power station and bathing in like a giant sunbed of this, is also not going to be a very positive effect. So it's something about, like, a lot of research went into finding just what is the optimal window at which the body actually responds, because it's a stimulus response type thing that happens, and to not do it too much and to not have too little.
Right. So if I were someone who had joint pain, what would my treatment time look like each day? Is it 5 minutes? Is it 10 minutes? You know, what's that sweet spot I'm looking for?
Yeah, so the way we designed this with dosage, and this really depends on the kind of output you have on the device. But with FlexBeam, it's a 10-minute session that we designed it for.
Okay.
We have 3 different programs that vary according to how deep you want to treat. But in terms of output, all you really need usually is 10 minutes.
Okay.
If you have something acute, or you have something you want to like have multiple placements, like if it's you're treating, you know, something around the knee, but it's also connected to your hip, you may want to do 2 placements for 20 minutes. And that is fine. But one of the things we try to tell people, or to try to remind users, is that more isn't necessarily better. And the analogy would be if you go to the gym and you lift weights, and then you have that session, and then you go back again and you do 3 more in the same day. Are you going to get a lot stronger? Probably not. It's going to have a sort of a different kind of effect on your body. And photobiomodulation is a little bit the same, is that like if you use FlexBeam for an hour or 2 hours, your body will just sort of adapt to it, and you won't really get an effect.
Yeah.
And that's kind of that's the worst case scenario with it. It's a very safe technology, but it's like, yeah, you can overdo it and then you don't really get an effect.
Right. It's a law in our line of work, the law of diminishing returns. The more that you double down on something that's effective, the less of an impact it has.
For sure.
Absolutely goes across the board. So tell me a little bit more about, is there a difference in if I use it first thing in the morning or during the day or right before I go to bed? Is there any pluses, costs, or benefits to either of those?
I mean, it depends a little bit on what you are wanting to improve or what you want to treat. I mean, if it's more injury related, or it's a strain or pulling too hard at the gym, it's a targeted treatment afterwards whenever you have the symptoms or the pain or the inflammation. If it's more regulating, like the wellness type application, which can be really helpful in regulating your circadian rhythm, for example, near infrared and red light can be very helpful with that, because it actually stimulates a melatonin release in your body. So there we found a lot of our users, and we're collecting more user studies on this too, have found it very beneficial for sleep induction by using it
right before bed.
Right before bed. And also in the morning, like if you don't have access to the sunshine in the morning, it can be a great way to basically stimulate your circadian rhythm in the morning to sync it up to the natural flow of the day.
Nice.
So for sleep and for the general health, it's like one time in the morning, one time in the evening can be one protocol to follow for a few weeks and to track the changes if you can.
And then just adjust from there to see what's working, what's not for your particular scenario. And you know, I know that near infrared light therapy restores glutathione, which is extremely responsible for tissue building, repair, making proteins for cell and immune function. But does the contact of where I have the light itself, is that also going to improve collagen production and anti-aging benefits on the skin level, the elastin?
Yeah, this is why we put red light in with the near infrared light, which is commonly found in some types of panels and stuff as well. This combination is particularly powerful because we have both a red and a near infrared LED working at the same time. The infrared will penetrate more deeply and stimulate at that cellular level, while the red light is very powerful for skin, for the surface of the skin, both for collagen and elastin production. And this is one reason right now, I think a lot of associations with red light that are entering the mainstream are actually associated with beauty and cosmetic applications. There's all these kinds of, you know, face masks and things that you can wear. These have really low power output of red light, predominantly red light. And you don't need a whole lot of power with red light to still have some effect for collagen production. But you do need quite a lot of like the right dose of power if you're using infrared therapy, which is really the crux of our device as well, because then it's not enough to just have a tiny light bulb or something. You really need to get in there.
Right. So the model that you just showed me, is that the main product?
So this is the FlexBeam. We have two two variants in terms of, this is a charcoal gray that I'm holding right now. We have a porcelain white model. We are developing future versions that will be sort of even more advanced than this one, but this is our first version, and we passed 14,000 sold now. And we're very happy. Almost every day a new Trustpilot review kicks in and like stimulates us to work even harder, because we all started out doing this with the real sense that this can help people.
Right.
To get the word out is not easy when the whole, as you alluded to earlier, both the sort of medical establishment and the way we normally think about health is the way it is. It's very easy to label something as alternative and therefore suspicious of some kind. We come up against this kind of skepticism all the time.
Right.
And which is very understandable. It's healthy to be skeptical of all these sort of newfound claims, but for us it's important to highlight all the science that you also pointed to now, that is really behind all of this, and all the users in the studies that no, this is not snake oil or like in the class of crystal healing or some. This is very much
actually has science-based studies, right? Totally, and I think that's really paramount in anything that you're going to do. And I totally agree that it's great to start with skepticism first, but I think the proof is in the pudding, and success or winning fixes everything. I mean, you can't hide the fact that FlexBeam has done over 4 million in sales. Like, if it wasn't working, that would have spread faster than its success. There was an old study done that I love referencing, and it was basically two groups, and people went and did really good work for this one group, and people did really bad work for this other group. And in the one group that they did bad work for, they went and told like 15 people, and the one group that they did really good work for, they told like 2 people. So I mean, I think it really it shines the light on, pun intended, of what's working out there and what's being accepted by the general public.
Yeah, and we're seeing that definitely, that we are building enough momentum and traction and a community of super users, of people who really love this device and extend the word of mouth for us, that we're starting to feel like we're reaching a different level. And we're now getting both top athletes and physiotherapists are joining us in our mission. And we're very excited now to, like, very soon we'll be sort of relaunching on our own website with some of the greatest athletes to come out of Norway, which is where the company is based, in the also known in the American market. For those who follow tennis, Casper Ruud is one of the world's top tennis players. He joined us earlier this year to invest after having tried the product, and is going to be a brand ambassador for this. So he integrated this into his recovery routine very early on. And this is a guy who plays, matches back to back every day, competing in tournaments. And for him, this was like just, the saving grace for his forearm and serving hand that is like always pounding the same way.
Right.
We have some other great athletes too that are have joined both as investors and to be helping us spread the word about this product being the real deal.
Yeah, no, I see a lot of opportunity, especially in areas like the NFL, because what have been the alternatives up until now? Popping NSAIDs, taking painkillers, surgical intervention, and while those may have worked the best they could in the past, this mode of therapy is just promoting the body's natural healing process, so you get back, or maybe even better than you were before, versus having to kind of duct tape over a bigger issue.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's a technology that's been, let's say, known by sort of elite top athletes that had access to certain kinds of facilities where they could access this technology.
Right.
And
because it was super expensive.
It was very, very
expensive. Yeah.
And I mean, this is more than just a sort of a lamp with red light in it. There's been a revolution in LED technology in the mid to 2010s. Basically, only 5, 6, 7 years ago, it wouldn't have been possible to make this kind of compressed energy into a device.
Interesting.
And so this is one of the reasons we could go to market with this now, and one of the reasons I think that it hasn't been made available before is because it was more expensive, more clunky, more difficult to produce. And so what we are poised to do is to sort of chart the way. I'm sure there will be others with smart solutions for this as well, but to be the first in the space to really give people an accessible technology that's so easy to use. You can just have it with you and use it all the time.
Yeah.
That it's not down to you like having to commit to an exorbitant amount of money.
Right.
Or like commit a room in your house to your like weird hobby kind of thing. It's just like taking it with you.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to open the door. I mean, the whole sort of path that we are on is to make this into something that's an obvious choice for people. And more people hear about this and how it's so easily integrated into your routine to improve your health. Why would you not have one at home?
Right. So, I want to come back to the kind of improving health, enhancing health, improving longevity side of things, stepping away from just the performance and recovery side. If I were going to use this device and say that, I had an injury and I overcame that injury, would you recommend maybe changing locations? So if I did it, morning and night, would I do maybe stomach one morning and then maybe my back and my spine another morning, and just kind of keep alternating locations if I'm just looking to really enhance my longevity, but I'm not targeting a specific problem?
Yeah, for sure. That is one smart way of using it. It's very obvious when you need it somewhere where to place it. It's like target where it hurts, right? But there's all these other applications where it's more of the maintaining and slowly improving by just having that daily ritual. So then we'd recommend whatever is feels the best, because it's a relaxing and warm feeling. It's it's something you can go to bed with it, so to speak, or have it on you. Personally, I like wearing it on my stomach when I'm sitting in a lotus pose.
Right. So the most light receptors are in your stomach. So that's probably the best. Yeah.
So you can just hold it and hug it close to your body, and it's like 10 minutes sort of lightly warming, slightly tingling sensation. And if you don't feel it right away, you will usually feel it the day after from sleeping. And and so on. So moving it around your body, it can be a nice way to be mindful of wherever you may perceive there to be some sort of strain or blockage, like a stiff neck or something, or it doesn't have to be, an injury, but it's even though it's quite helpful for that as well.
Excellent. Well, Bjorn, where can we find FlexBeam?
Yeah, so the best place to find it for now, actually the only place, is we sell it through our own web shop. You can just search for FlexBeam. Our company is called Recharge Health, and the URL is recharge.health. So if you just go to recharge.health, you will come to the portal for all things FlexBeam. Or if you Google it, you will find us.
Excellent. So sorry, overhead, I live near Hill Air Force Base, so they're doing some jet demonstrations. I'm sure you can hear that in the background there. But Bjorn Ekeberg, it was a pleasure chatting with you, picking your brain. Thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else you'd like to include for our listeners?
I really appreciate the opportunity to come on your show and share this innovation with, I think, like-minded people and people on the pursuit for smarter new ways to improve health. I'm just happy you would have me, and keep shining a light and spread the light on all the good things that can really help people.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to really fight the good fight, and like you said, kind of spread the the message out there of a lot of the innovative technology and modalities that are available to us, especially nowadays in 2023, that weren't, as accessible even 10 years ago. So thanks for all the innovative work you've done thus far, and I look forward to seeing more of you and your company in the future.
Thanks a lot, Matt. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for doing the work that you do.
Oh, thanks so much, Bjorn. Take care.
Cheers.